Hey guys, I'm over Supergirl, Season 2, Episode 2, Last Children of Krypton, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. You guys know I loved last week's premiere. I thought it was the perfect way to set this season up, and I was really hoping this episode would continue where we were headed. I think it was just the perfect way to bring it to the CW, and there were many things that I was really looking forward to, and I have to say that while I really did enjoy this episode, because I thought it was a really great episode overall, this episode for me, I thought, was a bit rushed. I mean, this is an episode that is full of goodbyes and, really setting up the official start to the season, but it really made me wonder, is it too soon? I think a lot of the goodbyes and the stuff that happened in this episode just felt a little bit too soon. I mean, we're only on episode 2, and some of this episode honestly felt like a finale. It was really weird, but let's just get in this episode because I do have a lot to say about it, but let's just get into it. We start off with firefighters struggling to contain a blaze. One of them says he hopes that he shows up soon. He looks up to the sky and is relieved to see both Supergirl and Superman flying towards the fire. They work together well, Superman containing the smoke while Supergirl pulls out the fire, and immediately they hear an alarm, and next stops two robbers from making their getaway. I love their banter here. I love seeing them working together. Just overall, just a lot of fun to watch, and both of them are enjoyed getting to save the day together because they're just not used to it. It's this new fun dynamic that they get to have. And next, Hank, John, whatever the fuck you want to call him, because I honestly have no idea what to call this character. Everyone calls him something different. You got Kara, who calls him Hank, you got Superman, who's calling him John, and you have Alex, who's calling him Henshaw. So I have no idea what to call this character, but whatever his name is, he contacts them about an alien threat. So at the DO, both Wynn and Alex call Hank out on being a grouch in regards to Superman, because he clearly doesn't seem like he's in the best mood, we definitely see. But at Cadmus, Corbin then wakes up. He's amazingly strong. The same woman is with him. She tells Corbin that she's a doctor and encourages him to use his new powers against Supergirl and Superman. And the male assistant in the room does not think that Corbin is ready, but the doctor doesn't agree and calls Supergirl and Superman a menace, and Corbin then glows green. So obviously, we know that he was Dr. Metallo. Again, we don't really know the full extent of what Metallo was, but I thought overall this was interesting, where we were headed with this character. I do think that it was a bit rushed, though. I think we definitely could have gone some more places with this character, but either way, Alex is leading a team out of the DO to deal with the alien that Hank mentioned earlier, since they have not heard from Supergirl. But before they can leave, Supergirl and Superman fly in, having dropped the alien in containment. Hank then scolds Supergirl for failing to communicate that the threat was neutralized, and just then, the power just goes out. We don't know why, but the power for some reason goes out, and Wynn says that there is another power drain of some sort, and basically, they go to the source of the power drains. The man from the pod who's still unconscious, who we are going to get more into his character definitely next week. We definitely need to get that sense. But the power returns quickly. They discuss the stranger's healing ability, and Superman is furious that Hank is using Kryptonite as a precaution against the strange man and leaves, which is understandable. I mean, we know how, what this has done to Superman. We know how against he was working with the DO because of it, and knowing that he's been using it really is pissing him off. You definitely see. So Alex asks Kara about their sister night plans. Kara admits to inviting Clark to join them. I guess that they watch Veep together, and apparently this is Clark's favorite show as well, so he's going to join them, and that was one of the strongest parts of the episode, is the dynamic between Alex and Kara. Hasn't really been there this season. It shows that it was intentional, and I really did like that. So at Catco, Kara babbles to Clark, nervous about her first day as a reporter. Kat calls Kara into her office, flirting a bit with Clark as she does. And in Kat's office, Kara is introduced to her new boss, Snappar, who I really don't like this guy, I have to say. But at the same time, I didn't like Kat when she was first introduced. I thought that she was just a little bit bitchy, and I really was not a fan of her. This guy, just something about him I don't really like. Kat does not seem especially excited or impressed with Kara for some reason. We don't know why, but Alex and Kara then setting up sister night in Kara's bedroom. Clark arrives. He immediately asks Alex for privacy, so he can tell Kara that it's time for him to go home to Metropolis, and Kara's sad about him leaving, and I'm like, really? We're only in episode 2 and already he's talking about leaving? Like, keep in mind, guys, we are only 10 minutes into the episode. I mean, I was shocked to learn that we were 10 minutes in, because I thought that I had skipped something, but they are distracted by the news showing a man about to jump off the bridge. He talks about how Lois needs him and how he needs to go back, but they're distracted by the news of a man about to jump off a bridge. They decide to save him them one last adventure. When they get to the bridge, they learn the jumper is actually Corbin. He gives Superman a blast from the green kryptonite embedded in his chest and calls himself Metallo. Metallo attacks Superman again. Supergirl hurries to save her cousin, but Metallo barely registers when she hits him. I know a lot of people say that the special effects in the show are very low budget, but like I said, I'm getting a very Richard Donner vibe from this show, and I definitely really did like that. Like I said, they're really embracing the cheese, and he's able to violently throw her before going after Superman again. Supergirl fights him, burning the skin from his hands to reveal that he's now a cyborg, and Metallo finally blasts Supergirl with the kryptonite as well, before a now recovered Superman shoves Metallo far into the distance. Superman then lifts Supergirl in his arms, and again, I just really do love their dynamic overall. I think it's one of the strongest parts of this episode, and one of the strongest parts of this season so far, at least. So by the time they reach the DEO, Supergirl is able to walk with support, but she's still dizzy. Superman angrily rips into Hank, reminding him that all the kryptonite was supposed to be safe at the DEO, and one's supposed to go outside of it. This is what Superman feared. He feared that it was going to go, it was going to get all over the place, and that having the kryptonite there obviously was a very dangerous thing. So Hank and Alex admit that some was stolen 4 months earlier during a shipment, and they'd assumed that one of the transporters took it, but they were all clean. So Clark realized that there's actually a mole in the DEO who stole the kryptonite, and Hank defends himself, pointing out that how they needed the kryptonite to stop Non and Astra, and that was the reason why they needed it, which is understandable. I mean, we know how powerful those two were and how they needed to stop them. So I thought there was a subtle connection to Season 1. It shows that while the show is moving on from the events of Season 1, it's definitely not forgetting it, and I like seeing that. So suddenly all the screens in the city are taken over. An animated head talks about the alien gods who have stolen the planet. It names Cadmus as a group of scientists dedicated to stopping Supergirl and Superman, and anyone who sides with them. So Alex is very worried about her father now that Cadmus has declared war on them. Remember, she knows that Jeremiah is still out there, and Hank sends Wynn to use Non and Astra technology to make something Supergirl and Superman can wear to protect them from Metallo's kryptonite. So Wynn is officially Cisco 2.0. I mean, he's now making suits for them. He's saying, nerdy things. I mean, you can really tell they're trying to make Wynn like Cisco, and it's working to a degree, but I'm worried that they're not going to be able to separate these two characters. The thing that made Wynn stick out last season is that he was a love interest for Kara. Cisco has never really been much more to Barry. Well, he has definitely been more in the past few seasons, but he is Barry's best friend, and he's also Kara's best friend. But we haven't seen a ton of interaction from these two. Now that he's working the DEO, there's not a ton of interaction between them, and I'm a little bit worried that they're going to try to turn Wynn into Cisco 2.0, and while I think it is kind of a good idea because Jeremy Jordan does a really good job with this character, I feel like they could do a lot more with him than they're doing. That's just a minor complaint right now. Again, it's only episode 2. I'm just noticing they're not doing a ton with him right now. So, Supergirl and Superman came where to protect them from Metallo's kryptonite. Superman and Hank then agree to work together and head to the Fortress of Solitude to analyze leftover residue on Superman's hand to see what the cyborg Metallo is made of, because obviously he's made of something. So Kara shows up at work, having missed a meeting. Snappar is not amused and informs Kara that she does not work for him because she has not earned the right to be a reporter no matter what Kat says. He feels that there's no way that she's a reporter, that Kat is in fact lying to her, and that she can't at all trust what Kat says, which I thought this was very interesting. It seemed like where we were headed, that's what Kara was going to do. She was going to follow her dream. She was going to become this reporter, but we see right in the beginning that that's definitely, we see right here that that's definitely not the case. So Kara finds Kat, and this I thought was interesting. She asked to talk to Snappar, but Kat refuses, and she's telling Kara to stand up for herself. She can't keep depending on Kat to fight her battles because Kat won't be there much longer, and Kara for some reason assumes the Kat is dying, which that was very strange. I don't know why Kara thought that, but she grows upset, but Kat explains she felt stuck like a shark swimming in circles and is simply taking a leave of absence from Catco to find something new, and that is the perfect way to make her a recurring character. Like I said, Calissa Flockhart, yes, she does live, in LA. She doesn't really, it's hard for her to commute, so she is going to be a recurring character this season, and they had to find a way to get rid of her somehow, and I thought this was a smart way of doing it, for her to relocate. I'm sure she will be on every now and again, but she's not going to be on nearly as much as we're used to seeing her, and honestly, I think that's fine. I think a character like Kat, there's not a ton more you can do with her, and I like that they are, in fact, making a recurring character, so we'll have to see where that goes. But to dive, Kara doesn't feel good about even more change in her life. Kat is touched, the two women hug, and Kat encourages encourages Kara to show Snappar how worthy she is. Just a really good scene that shows just how far these two have really come. You know, they've gone from someone that Kat can't really take seriously to someone who Kat really sees herself in, and I really did like that. So Metallo is returned to Cadmus. The Doctor is pleased that Metallo succeeded in harming Clark, a nearly impossible task. Her assistant is again doubtful. The Doctor decides it's time for phase 2, and then two goons grab her assistant, dragging him off. So Superman and John Jones fly to the Fortress of Solitude. Once they arrive, John turns back into Hank. Hank speaks Kryptonian to Superman, comforting words about his loss. He points out their similarities, orphans from destroyed planets who lost everyone they loved, and that's something I do like. I do like the that how similar these two really are. And Hank holds on to the Kryptonite because he's afraid of getting caught unprepared to protect the Earth. So Superman understands and does not hate Hank, but he does not really trust him either. I mean, after doing what he did, it's kind of hard to win back his trust. You know, what if the president ordered him to use the Kryptonite against Kara? You know, there's no telling really what he could do. You definitely do see this probably is going to be a problem throughout the season, and I do like seeing that. So Kellex appears, scans Superman's hand, identifying the metal as promethium, and that I thought was very interesting. We know there's the villain Prometheus on The Flash, and I know they said they're not going to connect The Flash and Arrow, like they're not going to merge universes, but knowing that Prometheus is out there, we do need one villain to be in the crossover. Now, I know the Dominators are going to be said villain, but Promethium in general, I'm looking forward to seeing where that's going, if there is some sort of connection to Prometheus, because I definitely feel like there is. Just, it feels very much like, it doesn't seem like a coincidence that we have a villain named Prometheus on The Flash, and now Metallo is made of Promethium. I just think that's overall very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing where that's going to go. But anyway, I thought that was really interesting. But then we get to this really big scene that, while I thought was really well done, felt like something you hear in a season finale. This really felt like this was too soon. Kara walks to her apartment when she's joined by Alex. Kara talks about her problems at work and the feud between Hank and Clark, and Alex offers ice cream, and Kara admits she's thinking about moving to Metropolis with Clark, and I'm thinking, it's fucking episode 2. What are you thinking? I mean, it's episode 2. If this was episode 10, then maybe I could understand that. And yes, I get that she, you know, hasn't had her cousin in her life. She's been with her cousin. You know, she had to fend for herself. Now that she's had her cousin, she wants to stay with him. I get that. I do. But at the same time, even though, yes, she, you know, is going to have to fend for herself, we haven't had enough time with this dynamic. We've only seen for 2 episodes, and I feel like this was very rushed with her wanting to go back to Metropolis. I feel like this is something they should have introduced maybe in the mid-season finale. That would have been interesting to see, but Alex isn't fooled. She loses her temper, accuses Kara of ignoring her since Clark arrived. They argue about how much Alex sacrificed to take care of Kara, only for Kara to talk about leaving, and it's actually a really well done scene. I like seeing Alex be genuinely pissed at Kara because, yeah, Kara's kind of ignoring her, and Kara admits to feeling alone without Clark, and Alex reminds Kara that Clark abandoned Kara with the Danvers, and that was, you know, that was his choice. That wasn't out of his control. This was something he decided to do, and she didn't. You know, she has been with Kara since the beginning. She's took care of her since then, and she kind of feels like she's outnumbered. So, at the DO, Wynn searches for Promethium in the city. He finds Metallo, but admits that the new suits for Supergirl and Superman aren't ready yet. So, they find Metallo, who informs them that he's just a distraction from what is happening in Metropolis. And the assistant from Cadmus has been given the same powers, and as Metallo too, he wreaks havoc on Krypton Park in Metropolis. Superman flies to save his city. Metallo orders Supergirl to go with him, or else he'll burn her. She promises that it isn't over before following Superman, and they arrive too late. They look over the chaos and debris. Superman blames himself for not being there, and Wynn then asks Alex for a screwdriver while he works. She slams it hard into his hand, obviously very pissed. He asks why she's so grumpy. She talks about how she keeps sacrificing for Kara. She hasn't had a date in 2 years, and Wynn talks about being raised in foster care after his father's arrest. Now, that is not true. I mean, we know that Alex and Maxwell Lord clearly had something last year, even though he did, in fact, end up falling for Kat. It seemed like those two were going to start something. So, I don't know why. That I thought was interesting, but Wynn continues working, complaining that the trace amounts of kryptonite that remain in the air, like radiation, are making his work harder, and Alex realized they can actually use the trace kryptonite to find the mole, because they don't know who the mole is. It's not Hank. There's definitely a mole in there. So Alex and Wynn then take a Geiger counter to the locker room at the DO. They search for a locker with high amounts of kryptonite. They discover that the mole is actually an agent named McGill. So Alex finds Agent McGill, gives him the job of arranging transport of some kryptonite to Nevada on behalf of the president, and Supergirl looks for Alex at the DEO. Wynn tries to cover, but Supergirl immediately catches on and demands to know where Alex is. So Alex catches McGill in the act of bringing the kryptonite to a warehouse, but she's attacked by several members of Cadmus, including the doctor. Alex asks about her father, and the doctor implies that he has actually been experimented on, and he accuses Alex of being abused and brainwashed into believing the Kryptonians were good, and she attempts to recruit Alex, but obviously it doesn't work. The thugs grab at Alex, who successfully fights them, grabs her gun. I am loving these fight scenes we're getting with Alex. It seems like they're trying to do a lot more with her, and I really did love that. Alex last season most times was subjected to just being the sister, and I like that they're already doing more with her. That's something that they definitely are doing very well here, but Supergirl arrives in time to save her. Once the fight is won, Supergirl apologizes, says Alex is the only reason she's ever felt at home on Earth. She also starts to come up with a plan, and at the DEO, Supergirl shares her plan with Superman and Hank. Cadmus thinks that they're divided, and divided they'll fall. So Supergirl meets with Metallo in National City, while Superman finds Metallo too in Metropolis. They're both wearing chest plates that, when made, which succeed at stopping the blast of kryptonite sent to them by both Metallos. Both sets of supers in Metallo's fight. Eventually, both chest plates are broken. Very well done scene, may I add. Superman and Metallo 2 are watched by a little girl who turns out to be John Jones, which I thought that was cool, but as we know, he can shift into anyone, which we haven't really gotten into, but I thought that was cool the way we saw that, the way we found out that he can, like I said, shift into anyone he wants to, so he jumps in the fight to help Superman. Meanwhile, Alex wears her power suit, joins Supergirl's fight. Eventually, John rips out Metallo's 2 kryptonite core, and Alex stabs a kryptonite inside Metallo with a pipe. Supergirl leans over Metallo, assuming Cadmus is watching through the cyborg. She threatens Cadmus, which the doctor sees, and overall, just a really intense scene. I really like the way it was done, and they're really stepping it up in terms of action this season. Really, I'm definitely liking that. Last year's action scenes were fine. They just really weren't that memorable, and they're definitely stepping it up this season, and I really do like that. And that's because, the production value. CW's has a much bigger production value than CBS did. So Kat stands on the balcony at Catco. Supergirl joins her, and we get this really great scene. She asks Kat if she'll miss it. Kat admits that she will. Supergirl admires her bravery. Kat says she's thrilled that she does not know what she's doing tomorrow. Kat tells Supergirl to be safe. Supergirl asks Kat to come back someday. Everyone needs friends. Kat promises she will. Supergirl changes into Kara inside Catco, and there was this scene where where Kat says her name was actually Catherine, and Supergirl says, "I'm not going to tell you my name." I thought that was going to be the perfect opportunity for her to reveal to Kat who she really is. But I get it. She's not completely gone from the show. They're going to use her at some point again. She's just taking a break for right now. I'm sure we'll see Kat again later in the season, but for right now, she's taking a break. I'm all for that. I think it's fine they're doing that, but I just think they kind of waste an opportunity with that. Supergirl changes into Kara inside Catco, sees James carrying a box of things, which he really had nothing to do in this episode. She's worried he's leaving because of her, but in fact, Kat asked him to take over while she's gone. He's simply moving into Kat's office, and he offers to talk to Snappar about Kara, but she wants to handle it herself. She's not going to let James do it for her, and I like seeing that. So Kara delivers an article on the duel Metallo fights to Snappar, listing her research and effort. He tries to ignore it, but she insists that he read it. He skims the article, and she still tries to dismiss her. Kara calmly says she'll bring the article elsewhere. Snappar reluctantly accepts her, even though he does not like her. So Kara's feeling very satisfied. She feels like she got this done, and she feels like she was, in fact, the reporter that she wanted herself to be. So at the DEO, Hank gets all their main kryptonite in lead, gives it to Superman to get rid of. Superman says goodbyes to Wynn, Alex, and Kara. We get this really nice scene where he says something in Kryptonian to Kara, and it means to be continued. He flies away with the kryptonite. You get the sense he's going to come back again. I thought this was kind of, I understand, they can't use him the whole time. I get it, obviously, because of the fact that he's not a main character. This is Supergirl, not Superman. I understand that. But I really want to see his character again. I feel like they're definitely going to use him more this season. And I think Tyler Hoechlin just did a really great job. I'm going to miss seeing him because he added something to the show, and I'm going to miss seeing him on the show. I think he really did a great job here. Just in these 2 episodes, really did have a significant impact on the show. And back in Metropolis, Clark immediately texts Kara, says he missed her. She texts him back. Clark then receives a phone call from Perry White, and basically he's back to his normal life, doing his normal thing. So Supergirl sits by the still unconscious man from the pod. She promises that she will be there for him. He does not have to feel alone on Earth, Suddenly, he wakes up, grabs her by the throat, and thus this starts the official start to the season with this character of Mon-El, and that is the way the episode ends. Really great stuff overall. Let's just get into this episode. So while there was a lot that happened this episode, there's not really a ton to talk about because, like I said, a lot of this episode was saying goodbye to certain characters. And while I think they were well done, I don't know if it was exactly warranted. I think we could have maybe used Superman a little bit more, some of his plots, but you do get the sense that he is going to come back. This isn't goodbye to Superman. This is simply just, like he said, to be continued. He will be back in the show. We're going to see him again this season. I don't know when we're going to see him, but I hope we see him very soon. Tyler Hoechlin really did add something to the season already, and I really hope that we see him again because he really was great in these 2 episodes. I'm already gonna miss their dynamic. Their dynamic was just a lot of fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's gonna happen with that. But it really seems like we're gonna get more into Mon-El, who this character is, how he got there, and if he's gonna be a threat or a friend to the DEO, what he's really gonna do. We'll have to see what's going on there. I think that overall is gonna be very interesting. He is a main character, so we haven't met him yet, and we haven't met the new DEO agent either. I don't remember what her name is, but she's going to be a new DEO agent, so I'm looking forward to seeing what she's going to do. That's going to be interesting. Kat's goodbye, I thought was well done. I definitely did like seeing it. Again, it's not a goodbye, though. That is, in fact, her coming back. She is going to be back at some point. I don't know when. These are 2 characters that I thought fizzled out pretty well. They did a good job with that. This episode, to me, just felt a little bit too rushed. I think the Corbin character, they could have definitely done more with him. He could have been a much more compelling villain, and they just didn't do much more with him. And that's something that Supergirl has had a problem with. And I don't really know who their villain is going to be this season. I'm thinking that it's going to be the Mole. The guy who was the Mole, who, I can't remember his name, but he was McGill. I think he's going to be our main villain. The fact that he's a mole, the fact that he gave out this kryptonite, I think he is going to be the main threat of the season. I think the kryptonite in general is going to play a major part in this season. That's definitely going to have some sort of impact on Kara in some way. I don't know what capacity, but that's going to be very interesting. I like seeing James have Kat's job now, because that's really going to change up things for Kara and James. I'm looking forward to seeing their whole new dynamic. I think that's going to be interesting. Kara's new boss, I don't know, kind of just rubs me the wrong way right now. I'll probably like him more in other episodes. Right now, I just am not really a fan of him. We'll have to see what happens in other episodes. I just don't really like him right now, but we'll have to see. As far as Alex goes, I like what they do with Alex in this episode. Like I said, her whole arc with Kara I thought was very interesting overall. And I liked in the end, Alex did save her. It seems like Alex is doing a lot more this season, and I like the way they're doing that. And I think overall what's going on with that kryptonite and Hank, I like his story. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there, with Hank and where that whole storyline is going to go. I think that's going to be very interesting. Are we going to meet Lois Lane? I think we are. I really think the next time we see Clark, we are going to meet Lois Lane because he's mentioned her so many times. If they can get Superman, they can get Lois Lane. I can see them doing that. I'd like to see them do that, and I think it'd be awesome if they did. But we'll have to see what they could do with that. I mean, I'm not saying bring on the whole Justice League, but if we get Superman, you kind of have to have Lois Lane. I feel like she's going to be there very soon, but we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. I mean, we had Lucy Lang, so I'm assuming we're going to have Lois very soon. I don't really know, but either way, guys, most guys thought this episode. This was a really good episode. It just wasn't as good as the last one. Moving forward, I'm looking forward to seeing what the season's going to be like, because like I said, next episode is the official start of the season. This was just kind of Superman coming in, but again, I'm looking forward to getting more into Mon-El, his character. That's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. The most guys thought this episode. Again, really going to miss Tyler Hoechlin on the show. I wish he was a main character because he was just so great. But I get it. It's Supergirl. We need to focus on her, and I appreciate the show for doing that. A show that knows that it needs to focus on its main character. That's a really good example of a very aware show. Like I said, something Supergirl is doing a very good job with is that they know what kind of show they want to be, and I really do like that. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the season of Haters Back Off, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.